Hey world, welcome to the Sherese Nicole Podcast. I created this space where I'll discuss life lessons, personal stories, observations, unsolicited advice, and ramblings that go on in my chattering mind. Every so often, I will pull in guests to provide different perspectives and discuss a range of topics from nutrition to travel and all things in between. So without further ado, let's get into it. Today I'm joined by a guest that goes by the name of Chef Beanz. But I just want to say, first, I came across your page when I was on Instagram and I saw your interview with Smile Space. And then I looked into your story a little bit, checked your page out. I liked it so much. I knew I wanted to reach out to you and connect with you. So here we are now. So thank you for joining me on my podcast.
No problem. Thanks for having me. So my name is Quain, but I go by Chef Beanz, and I created something called intentional consumption, helping people be intentional not only what they physically consume, but the content they consume, the conversations they have, and the energy that they ingest. So when it comes to my brand, or what a lot of people typically see, be intentional, that's me having a merchandise or a constant reminder for people to add intent to everything that they do. I'm currently stationed in Los Angeles, but I'm from Camden, New Jersey. And the inspiration that bit me with creating this brand, I was working in education. And though I was highly effective at education, I felt most alive when I was turning my thoughts into physical things. And one day I was randomly at a cookout. I'm in a fraternity there. I'm in Omega Psi Phi, and I didn't have any paraphernalia. So one of my frat brothers randomly gave me a chef hat. Once I put that chef hat on, my nickname used to be Q Beanz, but I instantly turned into Chef Beanz. And like I said, I just used that as a metaphor for everything creatively that I cooked up. I never had any thought that I would turn this into what it is today, but I guess you can say I got tired of always having great ideas and not executing on them. And this just kind of happened out of nowhere. Or I guess there's no such thing as that. It's just divine order based off of me leaning into my purpose.
I love it. So actually, let me tell you a cool story about intentionality and how I sort of introduced that into my life. Because before, it was always something that I was aware of, being intentional, but I never really practiced. Then I don't think that's something that a lot of us think about, because being a human and working in these, first world sort of cities and everything, we kind of get caught up. Right. So I knew that I needed to be more intentional about like habits and the things that I was doing my day to day. But anyways, I was at Walmart one day and I went into the book section, and I remember I was looking at the book rack and I saw this book that was unlike the others. It stood out. It was like an orange and yellow cover. The title of it said, I think it was like The Art of Deliberate Intent, something like that. Okay. And I was like, okay, yeah, this sounds like a book that I need. So I grabbed it and I started reading it. I was reading it for about like 10 minutes in the store. And then I was like, okay, so I have to buy this book. When I get to the cashier is trying to scan it. And he was like, this isn't our book. And I was
wow.
That was a sign from the universe. So the book is all about like deliberate intent and just how to be more intentional about your manifestations. Yeah. So I took that as a sign. I was like, wow, what are the odds?
I'm going to have to check that book out. That sounds like a very interesting book.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you manifest and you believe in all of the universe powers and law of attraction.
Right.
But yeah, it kind of gives you like these practices that you can use in order to manifest your dreams and stuff. So I just think that that's really cool. Like, cause I always wanted to be intentional. And then I ended up landing on a book that talks about intentions. And then you're also about intentions.
No, absolutely. And the unique thing about books, what I'm learning is books have a way of following you. And it's up to you if you're going to pay attention to those signs. Like The Alchemist chased me for years. All About Love chased me for years. And I'm someone who's actually very into reading now, but I wasn't always that way. I didn't always have the healthiest relationship with books. But once I picked up a book that I actually enjoyed, I'm like, okay, books can be fun if it's something that I'm actually interested in. And once you kind of get out your own way with understanding that this is only a bunch of people's perspectives, like this is their personal perspectives. There's rarely different things that are 100% absolute. So once I really I understood that, like I've learned to just really be present with the book and I guess the author's point of view on whatever it is that they're trying to talk about, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, sci-fi. Like I've learned to just be present in the book. So I'm happy that that book kept following you, and I'm looking forward to checking it out as well.
See, yeah, and maybe I, was meant to tell you the story so that you can check it out, so that you can take something away from it and like apply it more into your life. I follow you on Instagram, and you do have a very like strict morning routine. But where did you start? How did you develop it? And how do you keep sticking to it? Because I always want to create morning routines for myself, but then I fall off.
Well, it derived from a place to where I was in a state of reflection, like what adds value to you, what doesn't add value to you. I started to look at certain people on social media who I felt as though had skills worthy of emulation, and most of them got up early. Even my mentor at the restaurant that I manage, the owner, he's always up like early. And being that I'm from the East Coast, but now I live in the West Coast, I know it might be 6 or 7 o'clock out here, but it's already 10 o'clock on the East Coast. Mm-hmm. So it's like knowing that people are up and active, that's also an added inspiration. But as you can see, I frame things in the box of mind, body, and soul. So I ask myself, okay, in the morning, like, how can I add these different things to myself? So what I do is I wake up. No, actually, something that impacted this routine is I was listening to a podcast, and it said that there's 3 different ways that you should give in the morning. First, give thanks to God, give thanks to the universe for waking you up. Then give thanks to yourself, whether that's brushing your teeth, stretching, doing a morning affirmation, yoga, working out. After those things, then you give thanks to the world, whether that's responding to emails, calling, responding to text messages. So once I was able to take ownership of my morning, I said, okay, how can I do this? And the morning affirmation, like I said, that's me showing people it's okay to have a healthy relationship with yourself and talk to yourself. And the physical workout aspect is, personally, I know I need to get into my body first thing in the morning, because I can wake up groggy, I can wake up dragging my feet. And once I start doing it, it became just more enjoyable, adding different music to the R&B's workout. People saying, oh, I enjoyed this. I'm finding ways to having fun with it. So that's how I stay strict with it ultimately, because all of these things add value to me. But my why, as far as what helps me remain consistent, is knowing that it's beneficial to me, and to also know that it's helping positively impact the world. It's helping people develop healthy relationship with themselves. So that's what keeps me going in that realm of staying consistent with my morning routine.
And I think it's important too, because for me, for example, right now I'm challenging myself to eat plant-based for the month. I just finished like a 39-hour water fast. So that kind of gave me the boost to do so. But for me, it's like I'm challenging myself to do this every day. It's not as hard, but I know that I'm doing it for the vision I have in my mind. So when you say things like, yeah, it's hard every day, but you do it because there's a greater good, it's you seeing, instead of like the short-term satisfaction of it, you're seeing long-term. You're seeing like the vision. And yeah, sometimes that's hard to do, but I get it. I get your grind, and I get where that is coming from. So
it's also a reminder that though these palm trees may be beautiful or the weather, that I'm not on vacation. Like I moved out here to figure out who I was in the absence of my ego, to figure out what a higher level of content creation looks like, to figure out how I can make a lot of decisions in the absence of the old version of myself. So because of that, I'm always constantly on go mode. Like even it's times where I want to rest or X, Y, Z, or I want to go to a party, I'm like, these things might be fun, but I don't want that as bad as I miss my family. I don't want it as bad as, other things that me wanting to see my little brothers grow up. So in one spectrum, I'm trying not to be super robotic as far as grind. On another end, I know what it looks like to hold myself accountable for the things that I want to attract and the things that I want to create.
Okay, so you may have mentioned it before, but what was that shift for you? When was that point in time where you were like, I need to change my life and I need to do something about the way I've been living because I don't like it? This is what it is. Like, what was that point?
I would say it started at the end of 2016, going into 2017. That's when I felt like, because I have another company, and that's when I feel like things were going good, but I wanted to create a larger umbrella. And in my relationship at the time it didn't possess the polarity that I felt as though that either one of us needed to grow. And like I said, I was working in education, but the only time I felt really alive was when I was creating. And a bunch of things happened, from my apartment catching on fire to one of my favorite like aunts passing away to it was like all these different things. And then once me and my ex got out of the relationship, I think when people break up, sometimes you paint the picture of the life that you want when you're with that person. You can kind of plan the rest of your time. So when that goes left, you kind of like, yo, what the?
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's like different things were being taken from me. So I got to a place where I'm like, were you ever living your fullest self? And if you weren't, what does your fullest self look like? And someone gave me the book called The Way of the Superior Man. And as I was reading that book, that taught me about living on your edge. That taught me about just giving the world and your partner the best version of yourself, because if you don't, one of them will be able to fill it. It spoke about all these different things, and it put me in a place where I'm like, I need to make a radical decision.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was smarter than most of the people around me, and I knew that wasn't a good thing. I just felt like I was settling in a lot of areas of my life, and I prayed for clarity. I prayed for direction. I prayed for all these different things. And for some reason, Los Angeles kept reoccurring. And after a lot of deliberation, I'm like, I'm going to go out there. I kind of felt like, you know how you're playing outside and your parents yell at you, tell you like, yo, come in, it's time for dinner when you're a kid.
Yeah.
I felt like something was calling me from Los Angeles. I don't know. And then to speak about, have you ever read The Alchemist?
Yes, but I need to reread it.
No, it's okay. But ultimately, it's a point where say like you're going after your personal legend. He had to travel to the pyramids and all of that. And I kind of got to myself like, is this me having to travel to go see what's out there in the absence of everything that I knew? So I had to redefine what integrity was. I knew it was all these different levels of unlearning that I had to do, but that's what the 2017 and 2018 did for me. And I feel like that's one of the greatest decisions that I've ever made, because it put me in a space where I'm comfortable with being vulnerable. I'm comfortable with calling something out that's wrong. And I'm even more comfortable with accountability, holding myself accountable so I can hold others accountable.
I feel like that was such a brave, courageous thing to just like, you got that calling and you listened to it and you never look back.
Right.
That's just
right. Terrifying.
Yeah,
Thinking about it now and being like, yo, because I did it within 6 weeks. Once I made the decision, I gave myself 6 weeks. I packed up my car and I left.
Yeah. Bold. Yeah, you really, you spoke to your personal legend there. You're true to it and you followed your intuition and you just went for it. But another thing that I like about your content is just how open you are and how vulnerable you are. Do you think that you were able to tap into that more once you left, like once you took that big leap, or was that always in you?
No, absolutely. Well, number one, I feel like people can grow more if they left their hometown / home environment, even if it's for a little bit, because you have a lot of people who are used to you being a certain version of yourself, and you kind of fall within that vibration. But if there's one thing that I realized about moving away / Los Angeles, you can be whoever you can convince people that you are. So, because there's no one who went to high school with you. There's no one who most of the time, there's no one who went to college with you. I know people I've met people who could potentially be engineers, but they're putting on this front like they're scammers. It's a bunch of people acting out here.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? It sounds weird, but you can be whoever you can convince people that you are, especially with social media, with cropping. You can do whatever you want. But I told myself, if you're going to be yourself and you don't like remembering who you told people you are, or remembering this front, how could you make it as easy as possible? Okay, by being yourself, not just showing the highlights, showing the vulnerability aspect of it, showing them that there's no sign of overnight success, and you have so much faith in your higher self and you accomplishing it. I'm just showing y'all this part because I'm also going to show y'all the abundance, but this is how much confidence that I have in myself and the direction that I'm going in the absence of these distractions that I identify.
For me, like starting this podcast, it was scary to me because I was like, I'm tapping into a part of myself that I've never even exposed with, not even just myself, but like friends, family that are listening to it, and now the world. But I just once I did it, once I committed to it, I was like, oh, this is not bad. And then I see like how it's been received and the feedback I get. And I assume the same for you. You see all the feedback you get and it's like, wow, well, this isn't for nothing.
Right, right. And that and things like that is what gives us the energy to keep going, because we know how brave we have to be to even push the button. Once the button is pushed, it's like you have to take everything that comes with that. Shoot, even on the wall, these are Polaroid pictures of that I took traveling out west. And even the documentation aspect of it, people are like, yo, like, what made you want to do that? X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. I've always known that I was special. Like, always. I just never really fully acted on it. And you know on VH1 how they do documentaries and things like that, and they always go back to old videos. Yeah. Once I saw that, I'm like, well, since the world hasn't caught up to me yet, let me record it for the world. So when that time does come and they're looking for stuff from 5 years ago, I can have something to give to them. That's my thought process with it. So as much as I still go through my trial and error, I just know like I'm tapped into my light, and I couldn't see life any other way. I know I just have to continue to endure so that I can attract everything that's already mine.
All of that energy right now, I feel it, and I'm like, I love it because it encourages me. It makes me feel kind of hyped up as well, and makes me want to live out my truest version. And I always say like, I'm on this journey of becoming my authentic self. I don't know what that is yet. I know I kind of have an idea of what needs to be done, but it's like, I'm not there yet. So right. I don't know, like, what advice would you give to someone, who needs to break free of their shell and is like too scared to actually be truly themselves?
The advice that I would give to them, the deciding factor for me, once I started to really read the room and look at people for who they really are, and I learned to heal from like my own personal triggers and things. So that would be a first step, heal. Identify how you're responding to certain things that make you unbalanced and try to get to the root of that. For example, if someone betrays you, you might not be mad at that person. You might be mad because it triggered the first time you were ever betrayed. So to try to ask yourself, whether it was 7 when your mother left you in the house by yourself, or when it was when your cousin took your favorite football, heal from that. That way, when this reminder of betrayal comes up, you're able to face it and release it. So once I was able to face myself for who I was and be like, no, even though you put on the front like you've always liked a lot of physical things, you also like flowers. And that doesn't make you feminine. Like, it's okay to like what you like. It's okay to like books and really develop that healthy relationship with yourself, but also understand that most people don't even know themselves. They're only repeating or putting on this front of what society tells them they should be, or however old they are, what their community or friends told them who they should be. So because of that, I'm not going to respond or give a certain reaction to someone who doesn't even know themselves. In the same breath, I've developed a very healthy relationship with myself to where you can't convince me of someone who I'm not. I know who I am. So you can't tell me I'm supposed to respond to this. I'm going to respond to this as authentic as I need to. But as far as advice, I would say it's painful. It's all these different things healing, but the reward is well worth it, because one of the biggest things that was hard for me was the relationship with my parents. And though I'm older, in my late 20s, I realized that I'm giving the world and other people who I am in my authentic selves. But whenever I was around my parents, it would just be kind of like just routine, just very routine as far as the small talk. And I come from young parents, so I get it. When they had me as teenagers, they were only doing what they felt as though was right. And it's still all love, but I'm just saying, I feel like we never were able to develop like a really solid relationship. But now that I'm more wiser, more mature, and braver, I was able to have conversations with both of them individually. Like, I want to lead with love. Here's where we are. Here's what I think our relationship is, and here's how I think we can improve it, regardless to whatever has happened these X amount of years. Like, this is something that I care about, and this is something that I want to work on. And if anyone is looking to potentially do something like that, you can't control how a person responds. You can only control what you say. So like I said, I led with love, and I made sure that I was complete prior to that. But it's just certain things that may exist inside a person that's weighing over their head. But if you truly realize that your intuition is a roadmap to your higher self, you'll learn how to lean into that every time and use that as a sail to guide you in the right direction.
Where did you even where did you learn all of these skills? Are you always just like an introspective person like this?
I feel as though I've always been pretty inquisitive, but moving out here, I met a friend who introduced me to guided meditation, who just taught me how to really be present with myself. So meditation is very impactful. And I just learned that I like what I like. I like the feeling of inexplainable joy. For example, I've always enjoyed battle rap or like cartoon, like Dragon Ball Z. I still watch cartoons sometimes, regardless, even though I'm in my late 20s.
Whatever.
Like whatever. Like I like what I like, and I like the feeling that I get when I like what I like. So the more and more I was able to do that and realize how powerful my mind is, sometimes I look around and be like, I remember when I was envisioning this. I remember when this was just a thought, and now I have it. And as I was able to just pay attention to those patterns, I'm like, let me make sure that I'm being intentional with what I'm feeding myself, not just physically, but also intellectually. I can't be Mr. Intentional if I'm not being intentional in every aspect of my life. I don't feel as though my brand would be as potent if people didn't also see me being intentional.
Yeah.
So I make sure that I'm consistent with that in every area, physically, romantically, all of these different things, just kind of being like, let me add intent to everything that I do. So that's where it comes from, me seeing the benefit of just being honest and present in each situation.
And then I also noticed like a part of your morning routine, you literally talk to yourself in the mirror. And I know you're recording it, but I am assuming you do that even if you weren't recording it. Has that changed? Oh, wait, what were you going to say?
No, has it changed?
No, I was going to say, like, has that changed your self-esteem or how you think of yourself? Because I don't talk to myself in the mirror. I know that it's helpful to do so. I'm more like, just say it in my head. But I know that when you literally like verbalize and say it and look at yourself in the mirror as you're doing it, like that has a lot of positive benefits on you psychologically.
No, absolutely. It impacts you because I've learned to have fun with it, but it's also a time for you to just check in with yourself. Because a lot of times we just go with the flow with a lot of different things. But when you check in with yourself, hey, how you feeling? What are you going to eat today? Even if you don't know yet, that's okay. You know, you say you was going to cut back on these different things. You want to be more plant-based. So, you know, you have a certain lane, or that didn't turn out yesterday how you wanted. You planned on doing 10 things. You only did 6. That's okay. And it's just learning how to still continue to keep going, but also adding intent early in the morning. What kind of day do you want to have? What kind of day are you going to manifest? And I enjoy looking at myself as well, because there were times when, let's say if I was breaking out from like acne or something, or just different things where as teenagers, you know, we try to block them up. But regardless of how I feel, how I look, I'm going to tell myself, you look good this morning. And the world is happy to have you because you're brave enough to give it the best version of yourself. So regardless what happened, just give it your best, because all you can do is control the now. And I'm looking at myself. So it's like I'm speaking to, I guess, people through myself, but I'm also giving them the courage to be as confident with themselves and develop that relationship. So that's back to what I was saying, adding value to myself. It's adding value to me, but it's also helping other people add value to themselves. Because mad people tell me all the time, every day and every way, I'm getting better and better. It's just certain things that I've learned the power of consistency as well. So let me show y'all what it looks like to be consistent, with hopes that it might inspire you to be as consistent with something that's going to add value to you.
Have you ever considered being a life coach or a motivational speaker or writing a book?
It's funny that you said all those, because all those boxes are being checked.
Okay.
My book is going to be done before this month is up, which is going to be called Chef Beanz Recipe to a Woman's Heart. Motivational speaking, I've been doing that here and there. It just started back up. A few people reached out to me to speak to their colleges on Zoom, which I've already did a couple so far. And life coach, I'm paying attention to that realm, but I do eventually plan on developing an online course and courses and things of that nature. Yes, to all of those
Perfect.
questions.
Okay. My follow-up was going to be like, well, if not, where do you plan to take Be Intentional Chef Beanz Cafe? But I'm assuming those same. Yep.
Yeah, forward thinking, and like I said, just giving myself and the world my best each day with the even though I rarely have expectations, because when you have expectations, you know how that goes, especially when other people don't set them up. But the expectations that I have with that is that I'll just continuously grow. I'm going to grow regardless because I'm a seed attracting all the light that I need.
Wow. I mean, your story is really inspiring and I love the brand. I'm here to see it grow and see you do great things, but I feel like you're already on the path to greatness. So
thoroughly appreciate it. I thoroughly appreciate you having me on the platform. I know he's bouncing around with schedules and things like that, but I am a firm believer that everything happens when it's supposed to. So I'm just super grateful that you were able to share space with me and I was able to share space with you. And I'm just very excited and proud of you for having the bravery to start something like this, because I know what it takes to just start. So you're doing it, and just know that you already have all that you need.
Thank you so much, Chef Beanz. Where can people obviously follow you, get your shirt, all that?
People can follow me on all social media platforms at Chef, CHEF_Beanz, BEANZ. And I have a website, which is www.chefbeanz.com. And yes, I will be dropping a lot of things soon, but this consistency and trajectory that I'm on, I do this every day. So don't be afraid to tap in. I'm a pretty responsive person. I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy that we were able to share space.
No problem. Well, thank you so much for your time, of course. Until next time.